So I guess we'll get started. If people have questions along the way, please ask them. Hopefully everything is working fine, because I also switched to OBS Studio for this stream so I could do the Avatar game. Hopefully it's all working correctly. Yep. All right. So I guess we'll get started with the story. So in my process, when I go back to writing the story, I read and edit from a decent point. In this case, at the beginning of the short story, because it's just a short story. Usually I go to the beginning of the chapter or the chapter before it and edit and go through. I just do a quick edit. I don't do anything extensive. There are a couple things I thought of since last week that I might want to add in here or there, and I'll do that while I'm editing. And that's how I usually go back and like retcon stuff or change things, because later on I might have some mixture of ideas and then I have to go back and lay in the groundwork for those ideas previously. And I've do that in my novel that I'm writing quite a bit in the last 6 months, as I'm really getting into the meat of the novel. And it's happened in this short story, because the short story is set in the same world as my novel is. So there's one of the same characters in this short story that are in my novel, and so sometimes that reflects thoughts of the novel reflect changes I need to do in the short story. So go ahead and read along with me while I edit. I have just made the decision not to read it out loud while I'm editing. If people want me to read out loud, that'd be fine too, but I should go slow enough because I'm a slow reader that you'll be able to like follow along with the story. And if you can't, just please ask questions in the chat. Thank you. Alright, so yeah, the first scene is with Christopher. He finds some unsavory folks attacking a woman. He goes and attacks them, and yeah, that's the first scene. Alright, so this sentence right here is a little bit awkward, and I remember having problems with it when I first wrote the story, so let's see if I can work through this sentence here. So the silence made it all the more obvious to Christopher when he heard sounds of a struggle down an alleyway he was passing. So I want to make it obvious that it's really silent, and that obviously made the struggle easier to hear. But I want to do it in 2 sentences. I originally did it in 2 sentences, and then I changed it back to 1 sentence, and I want to change it back to 2 sentences again. But I want to do it in a better way than I did the last 2 times. Actually, I'm just going to go say it was silent. Nice and simple. Actually, I might be able to keep it 1 sentence. It was silent when Christopher heard sounds of a struggle down an alleyway he was passing. No, till. That makes more like narrative sense. It was silent till Christopher heard the sounds of a struggle down an alleyway he was passing. There we go. First edited sentence of the day. Gotta add an A there. Oh, hyphens. Sorry, I'm really thirsty this morning for some reason. Let's see. This sentence might be a little... It's long. I don't like long sentences. I like to be a little bit more brief. I do break my own rule sometimes, of course, but this one seems like it doesn't make up much of a purpose to be that long. So I think I can narrow it down to at least 2 sentences. It doesn't flow too bad, I guess. I guess I can change here. Okay, it took a few minutes for his eyes to adjust to the darkness. He could just make out. Alright. Spell darkness, right? Alright, he could just make out that there were 3 young white men. I don't have to say young, because I say their age later. There were 3 white men in their early 20s. Yeah. I was thinking maybe their mid-20s. He could just make out that there were 3 white men in their mid-20s manhandling a black woman. That flows much better. Oh, hello Hydra. Thanks for coming in. Sorry I didn't see you earlier. Yeah, so breaking that into 2 sentences, I think flows better. It took a few minutes. It took a few moments for his eyes to adjust to the darkness. He could just make out that there are 3 white men in their mid-20s manhandling a black woman. Yeah, it's much better as a 1 sentence, I think. Or 2 sentences, yeah. And I've got a hyphen again. And apparently another hyphen. There we go. Grammar. Alright. Well, welcome. Alright. So, 2 of them were holding the woman against the wall while the other man was talking to the woman up close. I want to make this a little bit more robust of a description. Don't know if I'm going to do that right now. But let's see if I can... 2 of them were holding the woman against the wall while the... I'm going to indicate this guy as a leader. As the leader was talking to the woman up close. It's a little bit more descriptive. But I'll probably work on it the next edit again. So I'll move on. Alright, so I can change this to leader. Delete this because I've already indicated that he is facing the woman earlier because I've indicated him as the leader. So I can remove some of that. He can move silently up to the group, so much so that the leader, who was about to strike the woman, was taken aback as Christopher said, "Let her go." Yeah, I think it's a better, more concise paragraph. Want to be a slight break here in this sentence. It kind of works as it is, but the man slightly jumped and faced Christopher laughing, or what? I want to say and said laughingly. I have, and I think next time I edit, I'll probably end up changing that sentence again. but I like it better now than what it was before. So I'll move on. Why does it want me to change it? No. I don't think a comma there is a good idea, so I won't put one there. I'm just going to ignore that. Do think a comma here is warranted though. So something that I realize I do quite often, like right here, this is the only indication of his height, and it's comparable to a woman who I also didn't indicate what height she has. And surprisingly enough, people don't really recognize this, and they are fine with this when they read some of my work. And I am becoming less okay with this. So I need to find some way earlier to indicate his height, so it better indicates her height. Actually, since I'm using Word, I can make a note of it somehow. Yeah. Okay, but that completely throws off the view of the work, so I can't do that apparently, unless there's a hide function. Sorry, I'm going a little bit off track here. Alright, where? It's gonna reject me to next, maybe we'll get rid of it. Delete it. Maybe if I just go back home? No. Who knew I could mess up in Word? Sorry, I am taking so long to do this. Resolve. Reopen. Resolve. Oh, I know one fix. I'll just write that. Okay, so that idea is not going to happen. I'm going to go back to home and go back to where we left off. Oh, too far. Also, the view is off. Let me change the view again to width. Oops. Why didn't it zoom in? Well, I guess I can just do it that way. Alright, back to where we were. Sorry about that. Okay, so here we were. Christopher caught the woman and looked down into her eyes, and his face softening. You're safe now. Well, fine sentence. But I just need to remember to fix that in the next edit at the top. So, moving on to the next paragraph. This sentence that kind of tripped me up in my head. So I'm going to look at it here for a second and see if there's any changes I want to make. After a few moments, they begin to walk out of the alleyway, with Christopher having her lean on him. I'm not going to say Christopher had her do it. That's what's tripped me up here. After a few moments, they begin to walk out of the alleyway with her leaning on him. There we go. Sounds better. I kind of want to indicate that he was comforting her, and I think that still gets it across, but without him, like, making it sound like he demanded her to do it or something. Alright, continuing on. Alright, I think that's it. Our last paragraph is just fine. So we're moving on to the next scene. Let me get a drink of water really quick. Sorry. So the next scene is the same scene that we just experienced, but from a perspective of a different character. His name is Draven. He is, as you'll find out very quickly, he is a vampire. He basically jumps down there, picks up the guy, jumps back up to the building, and looks at Christopher and decides he's interested in Christopher and wants to follow him. And that's this scene. Should be italicized, I think. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, I want to go back to the full screen. Should we jump down? Which is not one word. See, this sentence right here, I kind of want to change it slightly, but I'm not sure if I will. The young man was moving fairly silently toward the attackers, and I could give it more of a perspective of Draven, like, because Draven is impressed with the ability that the young man has, so I could word it so he's already impressed with the young man. So let me work on that for a second, and let's see what it would look like with that in there. Could just say Draven thought surprisingly silently towards the attackers. Draven thought the young man was moving surprisingly silently towards the... No, that's not right. It should be silent. It should be spelled correctly. Draven thought the young man was moving surprisingly silent towards the attackers. Yeah, I'll leave that in there. I might change it back next edit. I'm going to ignore this here because it just wants me to make it more simple, but I like how it looks. Because I just want to highlight that it is just an attempt, not a real effort, to make it look like he fell off the building. But the reason why I stopped here was because of this sentence. I want to expand upon this idea of licking the wounds and causing them to heal. I want there to be an indication that there is like some sort of blood magic involved in this. While very simple and minute, I want this trick to have been something that someone had to have learned. Like, so you don't just get to do it when you first turn into a vampire until someone teaches you how to do it, or you learn how to do it on your own. So this is a minor detail that only matters to the consistency in the world that the story is in. Like, in this story, it really won't matter at all. But in the novel and in the larger world, it will. So I want to add in this little minor detail here. And this is what some writers think about. Think about the forward thinking for setting their world in place. It's only something that I've really started to concern myself with in the last 5-10 years of my writing experience, and I think it's better for it. So let me think. It's actually a really good sentence that I like. So it hurts me a little bit to have to break this up because it's going to be a little bit less smooth. Like, this is going to be one sentence. He slightly bit the inside of his mouth. Let's say inside of his lips. Feeling around my mouth, I just figured where would be the best spot. I spelled tongue right. Also, I'm not very good at spelling, so you'll see a lot of spelling mistakes, and thank God that I live in an age when there is a word processor like this to help me, because I would not have done well otherwise. Alright, so let's hear what it sounds like. He removed his teeth from the lifeless corpse. He slightly bit the inside of his lips. Using the blood on his tongue, he licked the wounds, causing them to heal. Okay, that's not as cumbersome as I thought it was going to be, so yeah, I'll keep that. Yeah. And then he dropped the body off the side of the building in an attempt to make it look like he had fallen off the building. I don't like that I used off twice in that sentence, so I'm going to change it. Let's say, over the edge of the building. I think that will sound better. Let's see. He then dropped the body off the side of the building in an attempt to make it look like he'd fallen over the edge of the building. Much better. That doesn't sound weird in my head or in my ears. And that's like a lot of how my editing goes and a lot of my writing goes. Like, I studied like English, like writing, and I've studied some literature, mostly Japanese literature, ironically, but I haven't studied English as language. So when I write, my construction is based on what I think feels correct, and not necessarily principles or grammar. Some of my stuff might be incorrect. That's fine in writing, unless you're writing. It depends on the type of writing you're doing. But for fiction writing, creative writing, and stuff like that, it matters a lot less. There's still some rules that you probably have to keep in mind, but I haven't learned the words to be able to express that. I have a form of dyslexia that affects my writing, like my physical writing, but it also messes up some of my words. Like I will say something one way and then realize I said it backwards, like the sentence structure. So when I'm writing, and if I come across any of these, I'll point it out. I probably already fixed them, but like I will, like, it makes sense, but it's better if the first half of the sentence end up becoming the back half of the sentence. And that's just kind of how I think sometimes, and sometimes how I speak. But usually I correct it in my head, but when I'm writing, it just kind of comes out. So yeah, my writing is more intuitive, although I have gone to college and have taken writing courses, and I have taken literature courses. Like, the thing that people don't realize about learning how to write is a lot of it is just practice. It's not like just, I mean, reading helps a lot. Like reading stories, reading different types of stories, reading different authors, all helps build your own style of writing. But to actually build it, you have to just keep writing. And those writing courses is basically like, we're going to read this. I want you to write something about it, and then we will grade it, and then you will get constructive criticism back, and then maybe you'll rewrite it so it's improved. I mean, it's like trial and error learning, and that's kind of what those classes are about. So it's just writing, getting the feedback that you need, and it's pretty in-depth feedback, and yeah, that's how you learn to write. And a lot of people that don't realize that. So there's really no mystery. It's just how much effort and practice you want to put into it. And there's also such a thing as mindful writing, and I do it sometimes. And I've done it a lot in the last 5 or 10 years, and I've seen a big increase in my writing ability, I believe. Not only my ability to put out more content, but my ability to catch the mistakes before an extra edit pass, so saving me time in my editing. So yeah, it's just being mindful of what you're writing, and eventually once you ingrain something in your mind when you're writing, it will kind of stick and it'll become second nature to you. Alright, I'll go back to reading here. So, if I was writing a novel, I said this last week, I would be more expressive here and kind of go into a scene about him or hearing a dialogue between like his mom and his dad, or between some people, Christopher having a dialogue between some people in the house, rather than just summarizing it. But as it's meant to be a short story, I am keeping things brief. And if at the very end of the story I find that I want it to be longer, I will go back and I will rewrite some of these scenes that I've just kind of summarized to be a bit more open and descriptive. But right now I'm just going to keep summaries in the story. And like, there's a couple different ways to write this. This is how I write. I like to have like an internal dialogue sometimes that they have, rather than having like he thought blah blah blah, or like having it. I like to put it in a more personal text, so it's like his words in his own mind, talking to himself, rather than me telling you what he's thinking. I do tell people what people are thinking sometimes, but I try to keep the internal dialogue of characters from their perspective. Like right now I'm writing a scene for Drevin, so I would not have an internal dialogue of Christopher present. I wouldn't say this is what Christopher thinks. It would all be from perspective of Draven. And I'm pretty good at keeping with that. Sometimes I mess up. Yeah, so that's the end of that scene. I fixed this up last week. It was a very dull piece of writing and didn't make sense. But I fixed it. I think it works alright. Just kind of wanted to get the idea that he's old, a couple hundred years old, and civilization doesn't change. I mean, it changes, but there's always something, like an ineffable scent. It's something you can't really describe that always exists within civilizations. There's actually a story behind this, and I talked about it last week. I basically got it from reading a historical fiction travel book. That kind of it was a travel book. It wasn't fiction. I mean, it was fiction, but it was written like a travel book about living in the medieval ages, and it had footnotes and stuff. So it was like an academic work as well. Because it cited sources and stuff like that, and it just made me think about similarities between my civilization now and the sounds and smells of the civilizations before. And so I just kind of wanted to connect that here. Yeah. So this next scene was when Christopher meets his uncle for lunch. There are a few things I want to change it narratively, like add some new information. Just a few things here and there that I want to lay the groundwork for later, so it doesn't, so it makes more sense narratively. We'll see how much I want to change in this, because this is where we're getting to the point where I have not done an edit of yet. The previous 2 pages were things that I had written like before last stream, so this is the new area, so it might be more edits here. And I'm pretty sure there will be, because there are perspective changes I wanted to make too, if I remember correctly. And again, if anyone has any questions along the way, or they want a synopsis of the story, it's ! Synopsis. And it'll give you a little short rundown, a paragraph rundown of the story. Or you can just ask if you want more details. Alright, so I'm going to go back to editing here. I love semicolons. But it's hard to, like, a lot of people don't know how to use them right, so you don't see them very often. But one of my teachers in college was very, not a stickler for their use, but he was like, these are really awesome. You need to learn how to use them. And you use them properly, and it makes the story better. And I agree, because especially with how I used to write, I used to use a lot of run-on sentences. And this ended up being where my tendency to do run-on sentences turned into semicolons. And it was so, it's actually a revolutionary step in my evolution in writing. It took place, I guess it must have been 18 years ago now. It was my first try at college. I did really well in the writing courses. This is tripping me up a little bit in my use of commas, but I think I read it again and I think I will keep it this way. Despite the cool air, the sun beamed down, keeping Christopher warm with the help of his jacket, of course. Yeah. So reading it out loud sounds right. A little forced, though. I want to change this a little bit here, thinking about it, because at some point he's going to have a conversation with his uncle about his age, because his uncle is actually a vampire, which you'll find out later. It's obviously not his biological uncle. He always thought of him as, I don't want to make it so he looks like he's in his 20s, but he thought of him as in his early 30s, to explain why when he was young he hasn't really aged too much. You know, sometimes there's those people that just don't really age for 20 years, it seems. So he looked. Yeah, there we go. So he always thought that he looked in his 20s, but he must be in his early 30s. I need to fix that again. He always thought he looked like he was in his 20s, but he must be in his 30s. I'm going to read the whole paragraph over again, I think. It wasn't long before his Uncle Oliver... stupid Twitch. My emails. Alright. It wasn't long before his Uncle Oliver joined him at the table. His uncle was older than him, but he wasn't sure by how much. He always thought he looked like he was in his 20s, but he must be in his early 30s. He wasn't really his uncle, of course. He was just a family friend. He was close enough to the family that he was just always Uncle. I'm going to add Uncle Oliver, because I think I'm going to start making him say Oliver more. He always just thought him as Uncle Oliver. His earliest memory of his uncle was in first grade. We're in first grade. Christopher scooted his chair towards the table as his uncle spoke. Christopher, thanks for joining me for lunch. How was your morning at school? Okay. I needed him to say Oliver, but that doesn't sound good there. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna say, no. See, this is a trick. I came back and reworked this last time, and I left some errors, so this is good. I have to fix this, because it doesn't work very well. I want it so Christopher is there before his uncle. That's fine. It's in there. I want him to say good morning or good afternoon, Uncle Oliver, or hi, Uncle Oliver, or something that says like just a greeting with Uncle Oliver. Then, yeah, because well, this should be Oliver scooted his chair towards the table as. No. Yeah, I'm going to change that. I'm not going to mention Christopher scooted, so... Alright, so Oliver scooted his chair towards Christopher. And I spelled that wrong. Alright, so yeah, let's go back. Alright. Spelled Christopher wrong again. Man, I always get that wrong. As his uncle sat down. Unisum, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. There's a synopsis command if you want to kind of a synopsis of the story, or if you have any questions, let me know. I'm just reworking this, so it makes a little bit more sense because it was disjointed. Also spelled greeted correctly. There we go. There, I did it. I did what I wanted to do. I made Christopher say Oliver. Alright, so I'm gonna reread this these 3 paragraphs here to see if it works out now. It wasn't long before his Uncle Oliver joined him at the table. His uncle was older than him, but he wasn't sure by how much. He always thought he looked like he was in his 20s, but he must be in his early 30s. He wasn't his real uncle, of course. He was just a family friend. He was close enough to the family that he was just always Uncle Oliver. His earliest memories of his uncle were in 1st grade. As his uncle sat down, Christopher greeted him. "Hello, Uncle Oliver." Oliver scooted his chair towards... scooted his chair towards the table as Christopher spoke. Christopher, and it should be as he spoke. There we go. Oliver scooted his chair towards the table as he spoke. Christopher, thanks for joining me for lunch. How was your morning at school? There we go. Those 3 paragraphs were finally fixed, and they make sense. Totally messed them up when I rewrote them last week. Alright, so moving on to the next paragraph. Go ahead and read along, and then I will, when I catch something I need to fix, I will talk about it like I've been talking about this last couple paragraphs. Alright, so I need to make that he's specifically saying he doesn't like book studying because he likes studying physical stuff, like fighting stuff. So I should make sure that is differentiated first. Kind of want to just add do to make it more impactful. Period. I wasn't sure when I wrote this paragraph right here, this minor soliloquy. I wanted to get across the importance of the liberal arts to this young man, Christopher, and I wasn't sure if I wrote it how I wanted to, because I want to be more about history, you know, because he's taking history class at the time. And I'm a history major, so I wanted to, you know, gush a little bit. But I think this sentence, this paragraph turns out pretty well, so I probably won't rewrite that at all, because it gets to the point, and it seems to flow. So I'm happy with it. I wasn't sure I would be on reflection. I'm gonna say it puts him on edge, because it kind of does. I've got the feeling where I'm sitting in class and like, man, I just want to be out there. I like even like because I do a LARP, for example, and part of my live action roleplay, and part of the LARP is physical fighting, and that's what I really like about the LARP. It's pretty competitive. Not that I enjoy the competitiveness, I enjoy the fighting part, and so I've sat in class and like thought like, man, I'd rather be at the park fighting with my friends. And I was kind of on edge, a little bit antsy, and so I kind of wanted that feeling to be what Christopher feels when he sits in class, and he has his mind on martial arts and doing fighting kind of stuff. So that's why I added the puts him on edge bit. And the only reason I'm using boxing rather than MMA, which would actually be more appropriate, is because I can't think of in the 1960s in Chicago, which is where this is supposed to be set. I can't think of any other major fighting sport that was in America other than boxing. So I'm using boxing because that is the major fighting sport, so that's what he would want to go into, I'm guessing. Oh, need one of these. Why is it? Yeah, I guess a column would be good there. So here, I'm thinking, kind of want to add some more narrative detail here. So if you don't, I'll stop training you. Christopher should be surprised at this, because Christopher has been training with his uncle since he was like 10. So when he says, I will stop training you, there's like some surprise by Christopher. It's not just Christopher smiled, okay, uncle, I'll do my best. No, he needs a mental like, damn, I need to make sure I focus kind of reaction. I was a bit surprised. Christopher was a bit surprised, but no, it's... Okay, you've been training since the age of 10. Yeah, because I don't want to, like, before I thought, like, the smile would be like, oh yeah, he's happy, but no, he should take this a little bit more seriously. Let's see. Christopher was a bit surprised. He wanted his uncle to keep training him. He had been training him since the age of 10. He got a grave look on his face and nodded. Of course, Uncle. I'll do my best. Yeah, I like that. It's kind of like a grave, like, emotional change. But I think it works. Alright. On to the waitress. So he wasn't smiling, so I gotta change that. Alright, so the seriousness is over, he's smiling, he's all, yay, happy, happy, happy. Glass of orange. This is good juice with that orange. Yeah, it just didn't make any sense, because I originally wrote that sentence where he was also getting orange juice, and so I just messed up on keeping some letters there, and changed it to I'll take a water, meatloaf, and mashed potatoes. And meatloaf with mashed potatoes. There we go. Ordered as food. Yes, vampires can eat in my world. Crazy. This might not be necessary, but I'll just keep it in for now. But her apron and walk away, because a lot of apron have pockets, and if she puts it in her apron, it kind of indicates that she has pockets, so I don't have to say that she has a pocket. However, I'm going to keep it in for now, because it might not be necessary, but it's not something that needs to be taken out. But if I choose to later, I will. I kind of want to reiterate in this sentence, sentence here that he's talking about boxing still. It's not necessary, but after reading it, it just feels like it should be in it. So I will be adding the word boxing in here. I might even consider becoming your coach and manager too, if you decide to go with boxing after college. I might even consider becoming your coach and managing you too, if you decide to go with boxing after college. Alright, there we go. I think that's a better sentence. Alright, so this is kind of a long sentence, so I'm going to read it out loud to see if it sounds right, because it's I don't know, it's a little long, but it sounded right in my head. Sometimes I just want to read out a sentence to make sure it sounds correctly, because I kind of want my writing to be able to be read in a way. So if you add too many long sentences, well, that might make sense in the story and such if you're reading it. If you say it out loud, it might be too long of a sentence and not enough breaks. So that's why I like to read out my writing too. I don't think you should do it, but if you do, I want to be there to support you and make sure no one takes advantage of you. Yeah, that's right at the edge of, I almost ran out of a little air right there. That's a little long, but I think I'll leave it in. I might change it later when I go through another edit pass, but I think right now it's not worth changing. Christopher began to speak. "Thank you, Uncle. I really appreciate it," but stopped as Oliver stood up abruptly. Alright. That sounds alright. So this is a little stodgy, my word choices here. So I think I'm going to take a second, maybe a minute, to re-examine this sentence. He looked down at his nephew, and the look on his face fell off, and the smile returned. Yeah, and it looked, the concentrated look, no, the concerned, concentrated. He looked down at his nephew, and the concentration seen on his face fell off, and the smile returned. No. Stone look. He looked at his nephew, and the stone look on his face fell off, and the warm smile returned. There's two contrasting things. I figured it out. Not perfect, but it'll work. Someone. I guess he started up a new conversation. It wasn't the same conversation. I'm going to just say change the topic. Need one of these. Bam. Quotation marks. This seems unnecessary. Like, the movement seems unnecessary. The words are necessary. I need something to say, like, his uncle said, but I didn't want to just say, his uncle said. I wanted something to continue the story, so I made him nod. It's okay, but not perfect. That would be too hard. I'm going to change this here so it's more of an internal dialogue and not me just saying or what he's thinking. I want him to be saying it. I did punch him in the throat. Was it too hard? Wasn't his ball? Didn't he move though? No. Oh. There we go. So he says this internally. So italicized. I did punch him in the throat. Was it too hard? Didn't he walk away? Then it switches. Did they say how he died? Kind of want to add something here. So, like he said. Yeah, I'm not happy with this, but it's okay. Christopher tensed up slightly, thinking back to his fight. I did punch him in the throat. Was it too hard? Didn't he walk away? He asked his uncle, did they say how he died? No, actually that sounds pretty good. I'm going to keep it like that. I might want to expand upon the idea that Oliver was thinking that his uncle might react to this news that he had gotten into a fight, because the idea is that Oliver obviously doesn't want Christopher getting into fights, so he has taught him to, don't get into a fight. I'm teaching you this to, defend yourself. So I might add a sentence there to kind of reinforce the idea of why he thought his uncle would react. Although it is already a pretty long paragraph. Yeah, I'm just gonna oh, hyphen again. Okay, let's read that again. Last night I got into a fight. He paused a moment, thinking that Oliver was going to react. He'd always been taught to use his martial arts only in self-defense. To his surprise, he didn't, and Christopher continued. There were these three men, and they were harassing this woman. It looked like they were about to rape her. I couldn't let them do that. I attacked the leader, and he went unconscious, and the other two ran. I left the man in the alleyway. I thought he got up and walked away, but it was dark. Maybe he was still there. Uncle? Did I kill a man? I'm gonna have a kind of a dramatic pause there, I think. Alright, Christopher paused. Uncle? Did I kill a man? Right. I think that pause is important. I like it. I'm going to say a near whisper. I'm going to say day, change that, because it kind of indicates that I'm going to come back to that really soon from the perspective of Oliver, and I am not going to do that. So he's just going to Oliver in the background is going to go fix the situation, and eventually you'll figure that out, but I'm not going to I decided not to write that scene. It's just going to come out in the context of the story when he's dealing with Christopher, and just kind of play out, so his uncle kind of just ignores it until Christopher whoa, what'd you find out? So yeah, well, I got rid of that because it made it indicate I was going to do something that I was not. Just the things that I think about when I write. But how do I want to phrase it? Just go about your day like nothing happened doesn't work. So I just got rid of that. I want to give a spiel about that, so can't just add it back in. I'm just going to get rid of your. Just go about like nothing happened. There, did it. Moving on. Yeah, because right here I'm indicating like, yeah, I'm not going to speak about this again. You don't have to worry. Just go about your life. Alright, and that's like, that would almost be a scene break, and actually it would be a pretty good scene break, but in this scene I wanted to get across more information, so we are continuing the scene. But it is a natural pause for a conversation, so it's basically just like one conversation moving into to another conversation. Forgot to add the one. So just to indicate that he, is thinking like, wow, I might have killed someone. He's not going to forget about it easily, and he will. In this next scene that I will be writing after I'm done editing, he will once again bring up the fact that he's worried that he killed himself, and he's kind of like torturing himself over it, as he should, honestly. If he really thinks he killed someone, that usually weighs heavily on someone's mind. So he should be thinking about it. I was kind of trying to indicate that he eats big meals. I don't think that's necessary here. I'm just going to say he doesn't have a big appetite as compared to when he sat down. I'm going to phrase it differently. I'm just going to say he didn't have much of an appetite anymore. Oh, yeah, period. There we go. Spell appetite correctly. There we go. So this is a new scene from the perspective of Draven, because he was following him around all day, and so basically it's just talking about following Christopher around. Yeah. So go ahead and get into that. I like adding that. Pretty good job. It's something like how I would talk. I'd say all of these I would say, but surprisingly good as like not correct, because I don't want to make it surprising. So I'm going to keep it as it is. So I was going to like insert some kind of modern conversation here, and I had to find out what book they'd be teaching in 1960s modern literature class, and just say like they were talking about X book. I have not done that research yet. I will do it at some point. It's not pivotal, but I want it to be in there just to kind of set the stage. And modern literature is like an expansive time period. Actually, I don't even know if they call it modern literature in 1960. I don't know. I might even change up what he's reading. We'll see. But I wanted to insert something about that class. Actually, I'm not going to say that they're discussing literature. I'm not going to say this is the name of the class. There is no reason why Draven would know the name of the class unless the teacher said this is modern literature. and I don't think the teacher would say that, so I'm just going to change this class. Was the first class they were discussing that makes more sense, I think. So the first class they were discussing the book, insert book. So Draven doesn't actually know the name of the class, just what they were discussing that day. Much like the second course, which also was a history course, because they were discussing the 30 Years' War. Yeah, that makes more sense. Alright, so this sentence here I don't like. It gets the point across that he's far away and behind and next to a tree, but I think it is kind of too much of a run-on sentence, and I want to change it up. This might be where I use a semicolon. Those things I love, but I use sparingly. Shouldn't use semicolons too often. No, I'm just going to do 2 sentences. Yeah, just broke them up, changed a few words. So Draven leaned up against a tree a good distance away from Christopher. He was in such a spot that he could still easily see and hear him. Yep. He took out one of the books he was carrying around and with the intention to use it as a cover to watch Christopher. I need to look up Black Cauldron and see when it was published, and I didn't do it during the stream last time, and I forgot to look it up, so I'm just going to look it up right now as I'm speaking to make sure that it was published at the right date. Alright, so Amazon. Oh, I shouldn't say Book Cauldron, so it's Black Cauldron. Novel by Andrew Lloyd. Or no. Alexander Lloyd. Yeah. Right. It was in 1965, so I could put it in this. Yeah, I guess that means that it is at least 1965. And that's fine, because I didn't have a specific date in the 60s, but... So that dates this, so if someone's really careful about... when they read this short story and they know this book exists, or they look up this book, it will say that it is at least 1965. Took out one of the books he was carrying around. A new novel called The Black Cauldron. Alright. He took out one of the books he was carrying around, a new novel called The Black Cauldron, with the intention to use it as cover to watch Christopher. Perfect. Fixed that highlighted thing. So, moving on. Alright, so right here, I want to get across that Draven wants to leave, but that seems really clunky and dumb. And so I'm going to add in some different words here. Seeing the Uncle Draven's first instinct. So it's wrong, it won't even give me their word. I know that's wrong too. Alright, so let's see what it sounds like. Seeing the uncle, Draven's first instinct was to sneak away. He knew him. It was Theron, the last person he expected to see. He hadn't seen him in over 300 years, and he wasn't sure he wanted to see him now. Interesting people this boy knows. Alright, so the reason Theron is highlighted because I didn't remember the name that I wanted to call him. I thought it was Theron. I'm pretty sure it's Theron, but I'm not 100% sure. And I haven't thought about it too much, honestly. But I need to write it down when I remember it again. I wrote it down somewhere. I just need to find my note, or that note, because I wasn't at home when I wrote it down. I think it's in my backpack. Yeah. But I guess the point is, he wanted to run, chooses not to. Yeah. I already said it was running away, so I need to delete that. He fought his first instinct, and continued to watch and listen. Oh. Hello, Octavian. How'd your stream go? Well, I mean, I watched a lot of it, but I did go to sleep, unlike you. So how did it go in the middle of the night? 25 hours. Yeah, and you had that huge raid at the end. That was really awesome. Good? Excellent. I'm glad that you stopped by. Surprised you didn't just immediately go to bed. I mean, I would have. I don't even know if I can stay for 24 hours, but I don't know if I can stay for 24 hours to stream. Oh, that's pretty good. Only 25 minutes break. Yeah. Yeah, see, talking to dead chat, that'd be hard. Like, I guess I've kind of been doing it here, but people are lurking and listening to me talk about my story. But yeah, just chatting. I've always been impressed with your ability to tell a tale. So I'm glad it went better than planned. Yeah, that's pretty good numbers, pretty good consistency. Now you know the 24-hour wave of when people are going to jump in and when are not going to jump in. So that's pretty cool. Alright, so back to editing, and if you have any questions, if anyone has any questions, obviously, ask them, please. I also did the little stream avatars game. Hopefully it's being somewhat entertaining for people. I thought it was neat when Octavian and I found it. Oh yeah, interrupting is fine. I'm almost done with editing this scene, and I hope it calms you down and you enjoy the stream. But yeah, this is also an MMA or AMA, but I didn't want to actually put that in the links because I wanted or not in the words, in the keyword searches. I probably should have. Alright, so I was working on this paragraph here. I think I fixed it. I mean, I did fix it, and now I'm starting this one. He has first He had fought off his first instinct and continued to watch and listen. Yeah, that makes more sense with the change that I did before. And then he goes into an internal dialogue. Yeah. Gosh, put a comment there. Yeah, that's what it's telling me. Put a comment there. I was going to say the tree shadow. It's kind of indicated that the shadow is from the tree, but I wanted to be specific for no apparent reason other than I wanted to detail the scene a little bit more. So let's see if it sounds silly. Draven quickly took a step backwards behind the tree and melded into its shadow. And disappeared. Yeah, the double use of the word tree did not sound good. Draven stepped out of the shadows. Draven stepped out of the shadows of his hotel room, and I hope he didn't see me. I should never have stayed as long as I did. This is getting interesting. Alright, so that's the end of that scene, and the next scene. I think the next scene is going to be when Christopher walks home from school a few days later. He's going to get attacked by the 2 people that ran away last time, and then 3 other people that are indicated as the 2 people's friends. They're going to say, "You killed our friend. The police don't believe us. We're going to beat you up." So then there's a small fight scene. And then this is where Draven introduces himself to Christopher. So Draven, after Christopher beats the 2 people in front, he turns around and there's just 3 bodies laying there, and Draven is just standing there, watching Christopher. And yeah, that's how this scene's going to play out. Then he talks a little bit and makes Christopher doubt his uncle for the first time. So that will lead into him and Christopher and his uncle Oliver having a discussion in the next scene. So I'm not exactly sure how I want to start this. I'm basically just going to say it's been a few days and go from there. And I will try to talk through my process, but when I am just kind of sitting and thinking, I will not be talking. But those are perfect times to ask questions, or ask what I'm doing, or why I did something, or something that you missed in the previous stream, or earlier in the stream. Oh, I should check my playlist to make sure I don't go into... Okay, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, so I got about another 25 minutes of that playlist. So that's safe. Last time I didn't even notice when I switched over from DMCA free music to other music. I should turn that feature off. Actually, I'm going to turn that feature off right now, so... I don't know how to turn that feature off. Okay, I'm not going to spend time on stream trying to figure that out. I'll just listen. Alright, get into the writing here. Oh boy. I'm going to say it was a few days later. It was in the union. Oh, extra space. Actually, I want to go back and give the attacker a name. So if people want to throw out any cis white man names, that would be great. I'm bad with names. I want to go back and change the name of the leader to not just the leader, but have a name, because there is a chance when they're talking about it, when Christopher and Uncle Oliver are talking about it, he could say the name. Thinking Clive. Although I like the name Clive, so I don't really want Clive to be a bad guy. Clive Owens? Is that a real person? Is that one of the Owen brothers? Clive Owen is an English actor. Of course, I know who that is, so I'm not going to use that name. I need a new name. Frank? Frank's a very... Frank? No. Needs more... No. Frank might work. Frank Owens? I don't know why I'm stuck on Owens, but... make sure that's not someone else I've heard about. Alright, Frank Owens is not someone I've ever heard of, but it is a real person, and I want to use him anyways. So, there we go. Man named Frank Owens. There we go. Back to writing. It was in the evening, a few days later. Oh. Actually, no. Christopher would know that. I still should have named the guy Pass, but no. I can't just put confronted by the friends of Owen, because he doesn't know that those are his friends yet. He's just guessing. So they're going to let him know that it was Frank that died, and that Frank was their friend. So I got to rethink my approach here. It was in the evening a few days later, Christopher... It was in the evening a few days later when Christopher was walking home through a park when he was confronted by the other two people from the alleyway the other day. Alright, so I'm going to stop editing because I'm not happy with it, but it could take more time to fix it than is necessary, so that's why I always go through an edit phase before I start my writing, so when I get in my writing I can just not worry about editing, because I know I'm going to go back and do it and just push through the writing. Right now I got into a mindset of wanting to fix this sentence, and I need to not do that, and I just need to push forward, or it'll not allow me to continue. But on the other hand, I also didn't have the scene. I have parts of the scene in my head where I've thought it out very well. There's other scenes like the intro I haven't thought too much about, and mostly the intro. Thought a lot about the combat, some about the conversation that Christopher and Draven are going to have at the end. But the intro is what I've been kind of going back and forth on and haven't thought too much about. So, yeah. Alright, so reset my brain, start over, read the sentence, and just write what I think about. It's almost like free writing sometimes, but it's directed. I know I said I was going to change the sentence, but I'm changing the sentence. Yeah, so I just that's the paragraph right there. So basically it indicated he'd stay late, working in a group class, and reinforcing that it was boring and tedious, but he was still going to do his best because he wanted to make his family proud, because he cares about that, and he wanted to make sure that his uncle would follow through with him helping him start his boxing career. So I just reiterating things that had been said before, so his motivation is still moving forward. Still, and now I'm going to introduce the bit about him still worrying about the person that he may or may not have killed, because that has not left his mind yet. see, let's put their... Repeatedly? I'm not going to change that. Ignore. I don't want conciseness here. Right, still, he could help, but could not help. But feel a sense of guilt and dread over the unknown fate of the man in the alley. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had taken a life. He played the moment over and over in his mind. He could have gone for a less sensitive ear than his windpipe. He knew why his uncle always taught. He now knew why his uncle always taught him to avoid fighting. You never know what is going to happen. That's a pretty good paragraph. Moving on from there. Now I've set the mind of Christopher. I'm going to set the scene a little bit more than just saying he's in a park. Yeah. So, night hair. Yeah, I'm glad I got to work too. Basically, it was really simple. The way I can make it transparent is that OBS has a thing where you can click transparent, and that works. And Twitch Studio does not have the option to make it transparent, so there's a black background, and I didn't really want just a bar at the bottom of my window. Because it would look funky. I guess it could work. But I like the white background better, where it's translucent. Oh yeah, I forgot to bring this up at the beginning of my stream, but Extra Life is a thing. I've trying to raise $500. Doing a team with some other friends and LARPers. We're trying to raise $2,500 total. And my part is $500, and I am now started to actively recruit for the money. If you look at my panel, you can donate there. I wanted to have an overlay, but for some reason when I was working on it today, they were not updating correctly, so I couldn't put the donation alarm on, and I couldn't put the tracking bar on because there was no data going to it. Hello, Intoxicated Rose. Thanks for joining the stream. After reading the synopsis, if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. I'm just getting into the beginning of another scene. But yeah, Extra Life. I think I've raised $10 so far. So, not very much, but it's a start. It's for a good cause. It's for a children's hospital here in Oregon. I should probably memorize the name for on stream, but it goes directly to the children's hospital. And yeah, if you consider donating, that'd be great. So back to the writing. Let's see, the night air was crisp. There's a freshness about it attributed to the recent rain. And again, I can't spell. Alright, so I set the scene, and now I'm going to say, like, Christopher is walking by the bathrooms, and that's where the guys come out from behind the bathroom and surround him. Oh, nice. Thank you for the gifting a subscription. Think you're the first person to gift a subscription on my stream. So hooray for Juicebox Hero. You have got a subscription from Loctavian. Oh yeah, I was made me smile too. He was deep in his own thoughts when the two men who he had last seen in the alley a few nights ago. One of them was holding a stick in his hand, right hand. That might be important. Actually, it's not that important, so I'm not going to say right hand. Because I'm not going to say right hand with this guy either. Alright, one was holding a stick in his hand, and the other had a chain wrapped around his leg. That one's more important, because I'm going to do some grappling with that guy. Actually, no, that's going to be another sentence. I want to go ahead and, because he's going to have people move behind him. So earlier I talked about sometimes I think things in the wrong order. Like he was surrounded. 3 other men walked from behind the bathrooms. I think initially this was my first thought. He was surrounded. 3 other men walked from behind the bathrooms. That's fine. I wrote that down. But I think it sounds better. 3 other men walked behind the bathrooms, surrounding him. So I got it backwards. And that's part of my writing disorder that I have, commonly known as dyslexia, but there's so many different forms of dyslexia. Dyslexia is not actually the medical term. So it's a writing disorder I have. Anyways, yeah. It's kind of like ADHD. So many different forms of how ADHD affects people. That's why there used to be multiple terms for ADHD. And now there still are, but it's like ADHD inattentive type, ADHD attentive type. So it's like subcategories of ADHD, which I also have. But yeah, anyways, so back to the actual story. Also, I need to spell Christopher correctly. Alright. So that's better. Christopher heard movement behind him and glanced back. 3 other men walked from behind the bathroom, surrounding him. One of them carried a bat, another carried a stick, and the third person was wearing brass knuckled on his hands. On his hand. I'm just gonna say his hand. Why is it telling me? Yeah, I guess there should be a comma there. Check on the music again. Oh, almost done. 2 more songs and then I have to switch to another playlist. Do people want lo-fi, synth, or EDM? I personally prefer EDM just because it's more distracting from what I noticed. But yeah, chat has a preference, let me know. Yeah, back to the writing. In a few minutes I'll change the playlist. Oh my goodness, I forgot the name of the person that died. I just made it up. Something, Owen. Frank. Frank. He killed Frank. Alright. So, I have a serious question, and I'm just going to ask it in chat. So this is the 1960s. Racism is really bad. Yeah, I mean, it's been worse, but it's not good. So there is basically 3 white people that were going to attack and rape a black woman. And this is one of the people that was doing that. Now, he says, you killed Frank over some blank woman. Part of me wants to say black woman, but like, realistically, that is not the word he would use. He would use the N-word. And like, but I feel so dirty even thinking about using the word, but it would certainly fit everything that is here, and it would be the appropriate time to use it. So, like, I'm wondering what people's opinions are on if that should be used here or not. Because, I mean, it's literature, it's like a piece of slice of life, and so I don't want to, like, sugarcoat the past. So, yeah, for the moment, I'm just going to put black women, but I'm going to ask some people that and get some feedback about the use of the N-word here, and I might add it back in because I kind of want it to be impactful. Like, these are bad people; they were going to do something very bad, and it was very polarizing. And there is bad people in this world, and using the N-word just highlights that, I think. So yeah, I'm going back and forth on that, but for safety's sake, I'm just going to use oh, were there multiple uses? I mean, I guess I could research for other terms. That's true. Actually, I don't. Oh, I guess I could say, like, I don't like using the term, but I guess it was used. Negro was the appropriate term back then. That was the non-bombastic thing to say. Yeah, that's a good compromise. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and use the slightly controversial term. Well, the problem is I actually want the race reference to kind of like solidify it in the time and to make them seem even worse. Because if I just say some bitch, then it could just be anyone, but they were specifically targeting a black person. And it was, yeah, so that was their intent, and I don't want to shy away from that intent, because crap like that happened. And I just wanted to kind of put it in here to date the story, put it in context of the time period. And I need to do that in other places too, not just this one incident. So that's something to think about. So I wasn't exactly sure how I wanted this dialogue to go. So, because I know what I want the action to do, but I want a little bit of dialogue before it happens and kind of like setting up the stage for the fight. So I'm going to have to think about that for a second here. Actually, I'm not going to make any extended dialogue. I decided I'm just going to kind of go into the action because, you know, Christopher needs to be proactive. He's surrounded by people. They seem to want to either beat him up or maybe even kill him because they all have weapons. And then, so he needs to be the one to make the first move to try to break out of the circle. So I'm going to do this thing that they did in Samurai, or in The Last Samurai that I really liked, where the main character thought about how he was going to attack, and when he was surrounded, how he was going to get out of being surrounded by attacking people, what are they going to do, and kind of like played the scene in his head. Then he tried to play the scene out in real life. So I'm going to do something similar here because usually fighters have an attack plan. When I do my LARP fighting, I kind of plan out my approach, knowing the other guy what he's going to do, assume he's going to do certain things, and just kind of play out the scene in my head a little bit. But it happens so instantaneously, especially when you get used to fighting and stuff like that and get better at it. It almost becomes like second nature, and it's almost reactionary. So I'm going to have Christopher kind of go through like the basic steps of what he plans on doing. Hopefully it works out. It might just be too much of a distraction from the fight and be too repetitive, because I can't recall seeing anything like this in writing. So it might just be too repetitive and people just cut it out. So let's see how it will work and play out for me.
Tonight, I wish that I had known I'd be sleeping alone, but you can't decide. And it is plain to see that your priorities just do not fit right. I can't reconcile this feeling. Whoa, whoa, 'cause I remember when you had certainty.
They really want me to change up the war if he were too slow, if he were too slow. I don't know which one sounds right. I don't know which one's grammatically right. I guess were would be. So let's read this sentence or paragraph here. Christopher had never had to fight more than one person before. He had been practicing for this for most of his life. He needed to separate the group more and fight as few of them at one time as possible. He decided he would stalk the one in front of him with a stick first, then turn to the man with the chain. If he was lucky, he would be able to break away from the pack and run away. If he was too slow, the three behind him would attack him. That last sentence sounds weird. If he was too slow, the three behind him would be able to attack him. So I still want to highlight that the cops wouldn't listen to them about him being killed. So I'm gonna, he's gonna say something and Christopher is going to interrupt it, and then the fight starts. Growl. Oop, is that it? Is that the end? I have to switch? Yep, got switch. Oh no. So we're gonna do synth. There we go. Yeah, synth is alright. I haven't listened to this playlist yet, but it doesn't seem to be too distracting. there, that takes care of the guy with the stick. So I'm worried that I might be over-explaining the fight. So a lot of the literature I've read talking about fights is that sometimes being brief and non-specific is best, and I don't disagree with that. A lot of the good fight scenes are like that, but I also like the almost blow for blow kind of thing. Because Christopher's taking quick actions. Now, if it was a long drawn out fight where they're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, I can see it being more, being best to make it brief and just kind of non-specific. And that might come up in the story. I've used non-specific fighting, but usually my fights are fast and quick, and so I like the detail of them. I would love to hear other people's opinions about their preferences for fight scenes. So I might go back and rework this next time. But right now I'm just going to push through how I'm doing it and keep it like that. Swung. You. Yeah, it's about right. Alright. So. I want to change how the scene is done here a little bit. The momentary shock of metal hitting his face passed, and he quickly... The momentary shock of metal in his face. The momentary shock of metal hitting his face quickly passed. The momentary shock of metal hitting his face quickly passed. He recovered. See, what do I want Christopher to do? Yeah, that's wrong. Getting confused with my hims and thems and hims and he's. Throw. There we go. Christopher grabbed the man using the stick as leverage to throw the man behind him. Yeah, I'm gonna have to rework that at some point. To me, I don't like using man in the same sentence twice. But I'm not gonna bother with that right now. I don't know why I keep saying ground as mean ground. Incapacitated should be one word, right? Yeah. Okay. That should probably be in that paragraph. No, I don't like that. So I was gonna say that he likes just bolts and decides to, or let's see, Christopher turned, expecting the other three people had taken the time to move in when he was hit by the man with the chain. He was happy he was wrong, and he was about to bolt, then look back. No, I need him to. I mean, his first thought should be bolting, but he shouldn't know. Yeah, I think I figured it out here. Turn, expecting the other three men had taken time to move in when he was hit by the chain. He glanced back to see if he had enough space that he could run away. Yeah, that's alright. He glanced back to see if there was enough space between him and the other three so that he could run away. That's better. But it does make sense with the first sentence, so I gotta start and change the first sentence. Alright. Expected. So Christopher expected the other three people had taken the time to move in when he was hit by the bandit with the chain. He glanced back to see if they had enough space between him, to see if he had enough space between him and the other three so he could run away. Bam. Did that. Okay, so this is where Raven is introduced. So in my mind, I've always thought when Christopher first sees Raven, he's going to be at just barely at the edge of the light. So you could, well, I mean, not barely at the edge, but like just slightly inside the edge of the light. So everything behind him is black, but the lamppost is shining down on him, just right there at the edge. And he's wearing a trench coat, and then the breeze just kind of just blows gently. Trees drop some leaves, and then he speaks. So I kind of want it to be like overly dramatic. I envision a lot of things like movies in my head. So, and then I kind of just describe them as best as I can. So that's kind of the scene in my head. So I need to make it sound good, I guess, and get the scene across. That's another hyphen. No, it's one word, okay. Don't want to come there. All right, let's read this, see if it sounds right. Christopher did not expect to see what he saw. While the adrenaline was still running, he was shocked out of the fighting urgency for he had a moment ago. Standing over the bodies of the three people was one man. He stood just at the edge of the light that was put off by the overhead lamp. He was standing perfectly still in a long brown trench coat. The wind was blowing and his coat slightly flapped in the wind. In the moments that passed, a few leaves fell off the nearby trees, streaking across the scene. I need to put in hair color. I think I'm going to do black hair. I actually haven't decided exactly what Draven looks like. When I do figure out what Draven looks like, I will add in appropriate details here and there. But I'm going to say at least he has black hair. As the wind blew, it sounds better. Not perfect. As the wind blew, his black hair moved and his trench coat flapped. In the moments that passed, a few red leaves fell off the nearby trees, streaking across the scene. I'm not going to do a comma there. Okay, so yeah, now it's like the pivotal moment when they say their first words to each other. I wasn't sure who was going to be the first one to speak, but I think I'm going to have it be Draven. Yeah, Draven's going to be the one that breaks the moment. Christopher was grateful for the man's help, but he still felt on edge, and it wasn't just the adrenaline. Alright, so I wrote this paragraph and I kind of like it, but on the other hand, it doesn't mesh very well with kind of like other parts of the dialogue that I want to do. For example, like I want to do a thing where he talks about where Draven mentions that he knows that his uncle taught him because of how he was fighting. So I need to phrase things appropriately so that makes sense, and that's can be a little hard sometimes. Because I want to keep it natural, and I have natural first instincts, but sometimes they don't mesh with my goals. So, and this is one of those times. But this paragraph is fine. I wanted to kind of describe, you know, just sometimes those people that just like, they ooze like confidence, or they have a presence, and you feel just being around them makes you feel some sort of an emotion. And this is one of those people. It's not necessarily a vampire thing, but in my world. But for some vampires, they can express their presence and affect other people around them. Raven and Uncle Oliver are two of those people. Thank you for helping me, but how do you know Uncle Oliver? Yeah. Alright, so this is kind of clunky, but I kind of want to add this in here for now. Thank you for helping me, but how do you know Uncle Oliver? And clunky part is, and how do you know he taught me? It's clunky because it doesn't really mesh with the flow of the scene. I don't see why it would be his primary thought, but I want to have a reason for Oliver, or for Draven to say that he could see it in his fighting. So I'm going to leave that here for now, and I might come back and I'll probably re-edit this at another pass, because it probably won't feel right for me then either. But I'm gonna move on now, so I don't get caught up on getting everything perfect. So I had to leave that because I'm going to add that in later. It's kind of like a partying question. It's like, why don't you ask your uncle how we met? Kind of thing. I'm kind of happy with the response, at least. Draven smiled ever so slightly. I've known the man you know as Oliver for a long time. I know he taught you because I could see it in the way that you fought. It's subtle, but I can see his hand in your teaching. Yeah, that's a good response, I think. Covers things that I want to have happen, like, I want to make it clear that he obviously doesn't think that Oliver is the guy's real name, because it's not. And because he knew he were taught by him because you can see in the way he fought. And I want to make sure that it was known that it was subtle. Yeah, so all nice little package there. Now, I haven't really thought about how Oliver is going to respond. See, thinking. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and add in the little bit like why don't you ask your uncle bit at the beginning, because it doesn't really need to be at the end like I was thinking. If you want to know how I know it, that's a tale for him to tell. Yeah, it's alright. Oops, gotta move it up, sorry. Been pretty good about that. Oh, double check whether a comma is here. I didn't even add a comma. You added the comma. That's fine. If I don't like it later, I'll change it. Alright. Despite acting normal, Christopher was very unnerved. He still felt like running. He wanted to get this interaction over as fast. I don't know why I said on. Yeah, so I'm just about done with this scene, so I just want to figure out how I want Draven to respond. Like, I'm perfectly fine with, I'm sure I'll be able to find you if I decide to collect on that debt. That's definitely there, but I kind of wanted to say something about Uncle Oliver again. Like, let your uncle... I don't know if I want to be so blunt as Raven to tell Christopher to tell his uncle about it. I mean, it's an awkward enough situation that I think Christopher would ask his uncle about it. So I don't know if I necessarily need to add that bit there. So this is just some of the thoughts that I have when I'm writing, and makes me pause. It kind of seems inconsequential, but it matters. Alright, I'm sure I'll be able to find you if I decide to collect on the dead. Give all of it my best. I think that'll work. So then I'm going to move into the last paragraph to kind of close out the scene. Oops. Alright, so that's pretty good end of the scene, I think. Christopher said, "Of course," and turned around, dropped the stick, and picked up his book satchel. He headed towards home once again. He did his best to maintain a casual walking pace, but as soon as he turned a corner in the trail, he took off running and didn't stop till he got home. So that's I think it's a pretty decent finisher for the scene. Let's see, I'm at almost 3 hours. It is Halloween. I do have Halloween plans, so I might call this at 3 hours. The next scene, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the next day. He's out training. He's over at his uncle's house. They're in like a dojo or something. I've been going back and forth. Do I want to do it in a park? Do I want to do it in a building? Basically, he's going to go through a training session, and Christopher's going to, bring up the question about Draven. And after his uncle asks him about the wound on the side of his head, because of course, being punched in the face with a hand wrapped in chain could do some damage. So his eye's kind of swollen, and he has a cut. So his uncle will ask him about that. But a lot of it has to do with his training regimen and stuff like that. Just kind of give an idea about this kid that's only 18, what he's gone through for his training. That's not the typical training that you might expect. So that's the next scene. But I don't think I have time to actually really get into that scene. So I'm not going to do that here. But if anyone has any questions about what I've been doing or what I've done or the story so far, this would be a perfect time to ask. I will talk a little bit longer, and if you have those questions, go ahead and get them in. Of course, if you have the extra money, I'm going to help out some sick kids. We're doing Extra Life, so a fundraiser for local kids' hospitals. So consider donating to that if you have the money to do so. So I really have been enjoying this writing stream, and the last one was pretty successful, so I'm going to continue this. I'm going to try and do it every week, working on this short story. On Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can check out my Discord to keep up to date on my schedule and stuff like that, and conversations we're having there. I would like to thank everyone that stopped by. Luctavian for gifting a sub, and want to congratulate Luctavian again for doing a 24-hour stream successfully. 25-hour stream, actually. Because, yeah, he got a big raid, and they got a big raid, and then they ended up streaming longer. There was some overlap, so I didn't get to see the end of that. They even did the Hot Ones challenge yesterday, and they were doing prizes and trick-or-treating, and yeah, it was a good stream. I was glad I was able to catch as much as I could. So there doesn't seem to be any questions in chat. Again, thank you for coming to my stream, and I will continue doing it. Oh, also, I have a Patreon. If you want to read Uncle Oliver's story, it's set in like 2000s. It's starring the character currently called Uncle Oliver, but in that story it's called Philip Klaus. So let me go ahead and get that link. And you can read the story for free. So it's not like you have to be a member or anything like that to actually read the story. And I have 10 parts of it released at the moment. It's probably about a third of the way through the novel that I posted. Yeah, let's see if I can get the direct link to the... Here, sorry. Take a second. Philip Klaus, yep. 10 posts. So if you just go to this link, you can read that story for free. Oh no, you have to... It didn't completely... Oh well. Let me get a better link, but that link didn't work right. Alright, so go to that link and just click on Philip Klaus. Search through the keyword there. You should find it. If you don't, go to the Patreon or go to the Discord and I can help you find it. And thanks again for everyone stopping by, and I hope everyone else has a wonderful Halloween.